And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia. How you doing?
Today is a review of sorts, but this is actually a first impressions look at a game that's coming out at Essen from Days of Wonder called City Mania. Now what we're doing as we take a look at this game, first of all, you need to know that this is not the art for the game. This is just art from the internet, okay, that they put together. But the gameplay itself is pretty much set. It's a city building grid style game, so we're going to take a look at it and tell you what we thought of when we played it. The basic game takes place in 4 rounds, and in each of those rounds you have a set of tiles that's numbered for that round that you're going to randomly place on the board. Now if you're playing with 4 players, you leave them all face up. If you're playing with less than 4 players, like for example if you're playing only with 3, you would turn the ones down that said for 4 players. And they say it on the front and the back, and so they're randomly spots that are already used up on the board. And if you're playing with only 2 or 3, you turn more over. See, this is for only 3 or 4. So let's pretend we're playing with a 4-player game though. So these are all out here, and at the beginning of each round, one person is chosen to go first. That person has the first player marker, and each player has 4 arrows here that are numbered from 1 to 4. Now on my turn, I can pick any one of these arrows, and I can place that arrow somewhere around the board. So let's say I place it here, and it's a 3, so I go 1, 2, 3, and this is the tile that I get. Now, I will now place this marker here to show that that's the tile that I picked. The next player to take a tile is going to pick any tile they want, but they cannot pick any tile that's in this column or in this row. They also can't place their arrow here because I've already used that spot. So they could place one here, for example, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and take this one, in which this one would move here. And then the next player says, okay, he wants to take a 1, and he wants this tile, but he can't get it because it's in this same column. So he takes this one here, and it moves around. And you can see, as time goes on, you're going to run out of spots to place these arrows as people have different ones that they want. And you can take the same tile, often with different arrows. If you take a tile and there's nowhere for you to put that tile, or you place one and there's nothing for you to get, well that's it. Or if the tile can't be placed, you discard it. When you take a tile, whatever arrow you use to take that tile, so this is a 4, is going to determine where you place it on your own personal board. You'll see that I have columns 1, 2, 3, 4 and rows 1, 2, 3, 4. So I took this one with a 4, so I will place it anywhere in the 4 column, the 4 row, or the 4 column. So let's say I decide to place it here. Now when you place each tile, there are some tiles that as soon as you place them, they're either going to give you energy or people. So you'll see when you play this one here, it will immediately give me 3 energy. So I take that and put that near the top of the board. Maybe if I place this residential building, it will give me 2 people, which I put at the top of the board. At the end of the game, I'm only going to get points for things that are powered. So you can see all 3 of these need to be powered. This one needs a person, this one needs a person, and this one needs an energy. But I will also lose points for excess energy and people that I have. Excess energy becomes pollution, excess people becomes overpopulation. So I want to make sure that I try to put those in as many places as I possibly can. Now each round of the game you're going to add another whole set of tiles to that middle board, and after the 4th round, then players are going to score their own board. There's one spot on each board that if you take it, you get the first player marker. Otherwise, the first player marker will stay with the previous person. So you want to try to get that tile to go first in the next round. Once the game is over, you're going to score for each of the different types of buildings that are out on the table. And each building is going to score in a very different way. But before you score any buildings, you have to look and say, oh, you don't have this one's not powered, so this one would come off. Any building that isn't powered by either a person or energy comes off the table. So then we score each one. For residential buildings, these are yellow ones. You'll notice there's a stack here. They are the only building in the basic game where you can actually play them on top of each other. Look, it only costs 1 energy to power all of these, and so I can stack them. And when you stack, let's say I'm going to be putting the 4th one on this. It's in the 3 column and the 3 row. So a 3 lets me place it here, but a 4 would also let me place it there. At the end of the game, you're going to get points for how high they are. So for example, a level 4 one here would give me 10 points, while this level 1 here simply gives me 1 point. Parks have a possibility to store 1 extra energy in them. Basically, they reduce pollution. And so you'll notice here I have 2 leftover pollution. I'll be losing 2 points. But parks will give you points for the residences they're next to. So this park gives me no points. But this one's next to 2 residences, so it gives me 4 points. If it was next to all 4, I would get 11. These districts here, these district buildings, are going to score for, you'll notice that there's colors here. There's a pink, green, yellow, and blue. Those are the 4 districts. If I have one of these public buildings in all 4 districts, I could get 14 points. As it is, I have one in 3 different districts, so it gives me 9 points. You'll also notice that some of these district buildings, like this one here, is worth a point no matter where it is. And there are some things like that that are worth points. This port up here is also worth a point just for having it on the board. Stores down here will give you points for customers. You can put excess people in a store. So this one has 3, gives me 4 points. If I had managed to get the maximum of 4 people in it, it would give me 7 points. Factories give you points if they're next to stores and or ports. So this one here gives me 2 points for being next to the store and 3 points for being next to the port. And then ports give you points for being in a line, for the longest line and the longest column. So for this column of 3, I'm going to get 6 points, and for this row of 2, I'm going to get 2 points. A single port by itself scores nothing, and you only get 1 column and 1 line. A couple of changes are made in the advanced game. First of all, no player has their own color number arrow, and instead all the arrows are stacked on the side of the board. So in this, like a 2-player game, there'd be 2 for each number, and a 3-player game there'd be 3 for each number. And so you can use any color arrow, any arrow of any number you want. So you might use 2 4s or even 3 4s as long as they're available. There's also a few new building types that are placed on the board. There's office buildings, which provide nothing, and they're very hard to power up. They each take a person and an energy. However, they can be stacked like residences, and at the end of the game, you're going to get points based on how many are next to each other, and then for the height of each one. It's like a combination style thing. There's also monuments, which give you points or subtract points based on where they are in the city. For example, they're great next to a park, but they're terrible next to a factory. And finally, each player board is different in the advanced game. There's 5 rounds, so there's a 5th set of tiles, and players also have a 5th arrow, an arrow that's 5 that they'll be using in the course of the game. And that's because there's 5 districts now in a city, so all the points for everything go up. You can have 5 of the district buildings in the different districts, and your districts are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and instead of there being rows and columns, let's say I use a 4 arrow, it means I can put it anywhere here or in the number 4 spot in each of the other districts. So you have different places where you can put things as time goes by. Other than that, scoring is the same. It's just that there's several more things to check for scoring as time goes by. Most points at the end of the game is the winner. All right, well, what do you think?
Well, I thought the game was, at first, the first impression that it gives me is, oh, this is going to be a mathy game. Very abstract, not very engaging. I was a little concerned about it, to put it mildly. Now, the abstract half of that, I would say holds true. And I think you can see what I mean from the overview. But the engagement factor and the puzzly captivation of the whole thing, I think was through the roof. Right away, the game engaged me. I started to see interesting things I wanted to do, which numbers I wanted to hold back, how I could make a move that was both good for me and bad for other people. I mean, all the good stuff you want in a game, you know? So yeah, I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, there's certainly that interaction because you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, this is the building I want first. On each time there's a tile wipe and you put out the new tiles, there's 1 residential building that gives you 3 people. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's 1 factory that gives you 3. There's that first player marker. Mm-hmm. There's a governmental building that has 2 points on it, right, which is 2 points. And then there's that building that you really need.
Right.
Okay, and so you're sitting there, okay, I want all these, but what does Z want? Because if he takes that one that's in, he might not even take the tile I want, but if he takes one in the same row or column, then I got to wait. Or you can yourself say, I'm going to put one here so that the person after me can't take it, but hopefully then they'll move somewhere else so that I can get it the next turn.
Right.
Now that sounds like a lot of forward thinking, and it is, but what I found interesting about the game was that I never felt like I had to think that hard. It was more like I have 3 or 4 choices. Which one of those is the best right now? And as the board gets less and less, your choices go down, but they still can be tough.
I think the game is, no, I would not call the game a brain melter by any stretch, but I think it does feel puzzle-like, and I think it's a very engaging puzzle. I think it's an interesting puzzle, and not just the main board out there, that one's interesting too. But then your own board and the fact that the number you used determines where it goes on your board.
Right.
And realizing that every tile you place is a spot you can't put another tile. And so your board, that puzzle becomes tighter and tighter, and oh no, I just realized I used my 4 and I needed to put another district building here. Oh, and this and that, and so I'll never get all 4, all 5. It's that. And again, I'm making it sound like it's a head gridlock thing. It's not, but the challenge and sort of that ease of play meets a neat puzzle mechanism, I thought was captivating.
Well, the arrow mechanism is one of my favorites.
It's interesting.
It has like a kind of a flashback to Targi, kind of where you're looking how you get the things, but it's really fun. And it's also very different in the basic game and advanced game. In the basic game, you say, okay, I got a 1, 2, 3, and 4. In the advanced, you're like, ooh, I have any number I want. Oh wait, all the 3s are gone. Right. And so it's very intriguing. And this game scales well. I played with all the number of players. And the 2-player is really neat back and forth. The 4-player game's a little bit tighter, but at the same time, you can still kind of get what you want. It's very interesting.
Yeah, no, I thought it did very much so scale well. And in a 4-player game, if you're that last player on the last turn, ooh, you better be careful because you might end up getting that, ending up with a number you just cannot get something good out of. And sometimes you do when you pull off a great move with that last tile. And yeah, but 2 players, the tactics and the what you do with that, also very interesting. So I have to agree, scaling is excellent in this game. And the fact that setup for each player is so simple and interesting. You know, a lot of games that have tiles or a deck of cards or something like that, if you want to play with 2, wow, now you got to go through that deck or that stack of tiles and pull out all the tiles that say 3 or more. But in this one, just throw them out there. And if it's 2 players, the 3 and 4, flip them. And that's really neat because it gives you this, randomized setup where some things now just don't quite work. And that's just original and neat.
And one thing I like here is the base game and the advanced game. Mm-hmm. Most of the time when this happens, I say, oh, the advanced game, why are we even looking at the base game? I played both, and they feel really different, okay? Because the advanced, you have different tiles, you have a different board, and it's very good and it has different buildings. But I could easily go back to the base game and have a great time.
Right.
I think if they didn't even include the base game, people would like it in the box. Mm-hmm. So I think it's pretty neat that that's together. Now, realize that our review here is based off of gameplay alone, basically. Mm-hmm. We assume, since it's Days of Wonder, that it will be spectacular looking. But from gameplay alone, I think this is going to be a solid follow-up to 5 Tribes. It's a different game than 5 Tribes, but I would put it in the same... I would say if you like the 5 Tribes style, there's a good chance you'll like this. I personally like this way better than 5 Tribes. I like the whole city building and the grid thing, but it has that same kind of weight to it. And I think when it comes out, this is certainly one I want to put in my collection. Right.
And I agree with you. I'm a much bigger fan of 5 Tribes than you are, and I still like 5 Tribes more than this, because that game was amazing, but I agree that this is something I think I would like in my collection as well, and it seems a little similar, and going into it, it seemed like it would be too similar to 5 Tribes, but gameplay, that got erased pretty much right away.
We'll keep an eye out. It will come out at the fair, at the Spiel, this coming, I think it's in October or so. You'll see it then, and it's going to be great. Dice Tower Judgment, when this comes out, buy it!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!